So, welcome everyone to Carving a New Path. My name is Andrea Hylen. I'm the host of this show. And today, this is the second show in a series of 10, number two in a series of 10, where Karen Porter and I are going to talk about conscious self evolution and highlight some of the codes in Barbara Marx Hubbard's book from her book, 52 Codes for Conscious Self Evolution. And if you've never listened to the show, first of all, today's show is episode 30, Conscious Self-Evolution, Notice Flashes of Freedom. And I started this podcast during 2020 when actually I was hanging out with Karen and her husband during COVID. And the idea came because it just felt like there was so much change that people were going through. And I really felt like guests and conversations could be helpful about how do people carve new paths when something in their life changes. And then all the guests have listened to their inner voice and birthed new ways of being in the world, which you and I have done many times, Karen. And so Karen and I met back in 1996 when we were homeschooling our kids, and we met, I believe the first time was at one of the co-ops. And maybe you remember it differently, or maybe it was at one of the homeschool meetings from Kaleidoscope. But that's when I first remember meeting, and we have had so many cycles and evolutions of our lives together and separately. So I've been writing a series about conscious self-evolution for On Purpose Woman magazine. And so I reached out to Karen to just say, how about if we talk about these things on the podcast and just bring it in? So I want to describe the code and just say a couple of things. Is there something you want to say before I do that? Say hello to everyone.
Hi. Okay.
All right, you're good. All right.
Keep the
All right,
ball rolling.
I'll just roll the ball a little bit further. All right, so this, like I said, 52 codes for conscious self-evolution. We're focused on code 3 today. Notice flashes of freedom and keep bringing your attention to them. And something I want to say as I'm reading a little bit of a description is how conscious self-evolution sounds like this huge, big concept. And really, a flash of freedom is a moment of insight and awareness. It could be an aha. It's a preview of you coming into a different state of being. So flashes of freedom are new ideas, awarenesses, missing puzzle pieces, next steps, a vision that shows that something is possible, or at least it's going to be playing with you a little bit, like, this is a possibility. And you have big and little flashes of freedom all the time.
Right.
And so a few words I wrote in the article was, have you ever had an insight or an idea in the shower or when driving down the highway or taking a walk? And once you have that flash of freedom, the next step is to bring your attention to it and do something that stokes the fire. You don't have to sit by the fire and tend to it 24/7. Acknowledge it and remember it. So a flash can be, it's time to leave a job or change something in your business. It can be an aha about something that is no longer working in your family or a close relationship. It can be an idea for how to bring more joy into your business or a sensing that it's time to move. The flash of freedom points you to a change that is coming. The key is to pay attention to them when they come. Turn your attention to it, hold it lightly, and see how it unfolds. And just to really bring the simple up here, it can be that you really like eggnog. And your store only carries it during the holidays, and
I
there's
know.
no eggnog
And
at the
this year,
store.
Starbucks didn't even do an eggnog drink.
I know. So yeah. So I know that Karen really loves the eggnog. So that's probably why this idea. But you could be in the shower and all of a sudden think, oh, I didn't go to this other store and maybe they have it. And
Right.
that can be as simple as a flash of freedom in the moment, even though there are other bigger things, or actually that may be the big thing, but
Oh,
there's different ways of,
someday. Yep.
yeah. So let's just talk about it.
Okay.
What do you want to share? What's been coming up for you about this code? Oh, wait, you're muted.
Bad people are trying to call me. These scam likelies keep
Oh,
popping up and keep, no, no, no.
that is not the flash of freedom we want. That is
Um,
not a flash of freedom. Scam calls.
yeah, and the whole the flash of freedom phrase just threw me.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I don't feel free. I definitely have had uh a deep respect and knowing for my recognition, and my insight and my intuition throughout my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that probably before um being aware of co-creation and conscious evolution, that the concept of synchronicities
Mm-hmm.
uh, really got rooted. And so yes, that's totally there and present. And you've witnessed many of mine.
Mm-hmm.
My get in the car, Andrea.
Right. Yes.
And yeah, oh, and then I thought when you first started healing my voice, I said, let's do a fundraiser. And I got like threw it together in like a week, and we raised what your operating expenses for a year.
Right. Right.
Um and
And it was
yes,
at the time when people said, this is too sudden. We can't
right.
put this
Ooh.
together. But you knew I was living in California at the time, and I flew back to Maryland where we had a large community of
Right,
people
right, right.
who we'd known for a while. And someone else, I think that, well, I know it was Beth Dello who found a place for us to have it at a church,
Right. It was
something.
church basement. Right.
Right, church basement. And but there were people say, "Oh, come on, let's like come back in 6 months and let's do this." But you could feel that the energy was moving. There was
Right.
something, I was flying in and it was starting, and you knew that this
Mhm.
was like
Mhm.
the thing to do. So you got the flash of freedom
Right.
that there can be this fundraiser, you
Right.
know, and everything coming together. So I don't know if you want to say more about that. But
Well,
that's
yeah, and that's exactly. It's just that there are times when it's like, I don't know why everybody else is trying to rain on my parade, but this is definitely going to happen.
Mhm.
Um, it was like the sequence of events that happened at the Evolutionary Women gathering,
Yeah.
and people pointing out, what you do here is so extraordinary. And I thought, like, this is just daily run-of-the-mill stuff. This is how I
Right,
live.
right.
And in the shower, it's like I got the download of Guide to Life, Evolutionary Woman's Guide to Life.
Yep.
At first I thought, oh, is it a homeschooling mom's guide to life? And no, it's an evolutionary woman's guide to life. And then I stood up in the group and shared that. And then, Christine Closer stood up in the row in front of me and said, I'm a publisher and I'll publish that book.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, in the first trip that we took for orphanage relief, and that we teamed up with Mrs. Santa group,
Mm-hmm.
Children in Common and Mrs. Santa teamed up, and we were going to visit 12 orphanages. And so I got the idea that we'll, do ornaments, and, for a donation, I send you an ornament. And, so a woman designed them, and we all sat down and painted them. And mine were kind of like really pissy looking and angry little women. They went out, and everybody said, this is stupid, this is crazy, nobody's gonna like pay money for those things. I said, they're not paying for those, they're paying to support the orphans.
Mm-hmm.
And I was confident that I would raise $12,000,
Mm-hmm.
$1,000 for each orphanage, and we
Mm-hmm.
went over.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just knew it.
Well, and it feels like those moments of a flash, when you pay attention to it, when you stoke the fires, then the the next steps start to appear.
Right.
And
Hmm.
I feel like that's what in the article that I wrote for On Purpose Woman, I just talked about having been sick for a couple of years and being in the hospital and
Hmm.
having an epiphany after like 24 hours of crying. And I mean, that was like a cathartic release of I was going to get well and I was going to homeschool my kids. And people looked at me like I was crazy because I'd been sick for so long.
Hmm.
And it's not like all of a sudden, boom, I'm well, I'm homeschooling my kids. It was these incremental things that happened. And it's the same thing with your connection with the orphanages.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
like you already, like each step of the way there, of even having the opportunity to be one of the first or the first to go to Russia to adopt children.
Right.
There was the flash, but there were all these other steps that happen. And for some things, it comes together quickly. And
Hmm.
for other things, it's like, okay, then we need to fill out this paperwork. We need to, and at each point, there might be a crossroads, there might be a roadblock or hurdle or something. But when you have that flash of freedom, there's such a powerful knowing, like you
Right.
just about the ornaments, and that you knew. It's like you received the insight, you received the download about that. And then it's about showing up. And I also believe, and let me know how you feel about this, that there are times where you might come across a roadblock and it's like you have to make a recommitment or take a pause, check within, whatever that is, even if it's a split second of, wait, do I still feel that knowing? Is that the thing? So I don't know. What are some thoughts that you have about that?
Um, yeah, I think it's kind of natural to doubt and second guess. Um, but I tend to be like a dog with a bone. Um, If if it came to me, I'm not letting it go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that not so much there, but it's just like, okay, well, that that way's not going to happen. So let's find a way that.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and maybe that's the thing to just share with the listeners is that it's not necessarily point A to point B. It's
Oh, yeah.
actually, okay, I'm going in this direction. Oh, wait, this part's blocked, but you've got the bone. You're not going to let it go. So you just are aware that you're going to have another insight of which way to go. And maybe it comes like that. And maybe it's you need a good night's sleep, or you need to get in the shower or have a conversation with someone,
Mhm, mhm.
and those doors. But to me, what's really powerful about the flash of freedom and conscious self-evolution is that it's about being in the present moment and being conscious about it, like raising your consciousness. Because here's the thing, you could have that idea and then just not follow through on it,
Right.
you
Mhm,
know,
mhm.
and for whatever reason, you don't feel like doing it, like, I mean, or like you said, the part about when Heal My Voice was starting, and you're like, get in the car. I've got a Starbucks coffee for you. Get in the car. And it's because I'd had a conversation with someone who was saying some things that just brought up a lot of upset to me about it, you know, whatever. I think she said I was using women, which it was ridiculous because I was charging so little money, and it was just whatever. There was just a dynamic. And I was so blown away by the conversation that I thought maybe this isn't the thing to do. And so it's also good to have other um, companions along the way who are believing in the mission that you have.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. So, flashes of freedom.
Yep.
And and also you brought up the conscious choices, an evolutionary woman's guide to life. That's funny because I found a couple in my storage unit when I was cleaning some
Ooh,
out. I was like, oh, I thought they were all gone, but no, there's more here. There's more.
there's always more. There's always more.
There's always more. And,
Oh, Lordy.
when Karen stood up and said, we should put a book together, Evolutionary Woman's Guide to Life, I had a physical reaction to it. It's like one of those things at the carnival where you take the hammer and you hit the bell, or you hit the thing and the bell goes all the way and go ding, 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 ding. Something in me just went like
Right.
zzz. And I was like, oh, yeah, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that group. I want to write a story. And
Yeah.
then over time, each of us found our role
Right.
in that, that
Mhm,
there were a
mhm,
group of us who either led a weekly phone call, answered questions, held space, read stories, did the editing,
mhm.
collated the book. It was like each of us were yeah, bringing something to that project. So sometimes your flash of freedom is about connecting with other people, that this is a new idea. This is an awareness, which might not seem like a big thing now, but this was in 2008. So, um, in a large group of women, I don't know that anyone had written, I don't know, maybe someone had written a book at that point, but it was a new idea for many of us to do
Mhm.
that. And so little by little, those other pieces come together.
Right.
Yeah. What else comes to you with a flash of freedom?
Um, basically, like every big decision, the homeschooling the boys, just seeing that if they went into that system, they were going to be labeled, their self-esteem would be destroyed.
Hmm.
Um, and they just needed time,
Hmm.
to play and develop. And so that got proved out. Um, moving, um, kind of being done with the caretaking in my family and um, the early death of my sister-in-law, and David saying, if we can afford to retire early, I want to do that. And I said, well, if you're going to retire, do you want to go to Seattle so you have time with your folks?
Mm-hmm.
And then things, and I basically within a couple days I was on a plane coming to look at houses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that all unfolded. It took a couple trips, but we found a house and went prepared for the move and um kind of getting ready to do that again. Um David's dad passed in July, and his mom's kind of really failing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
we aren't going to be in Seattle forever. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we had friends who went into this old folks home that's a continuous care facility. That's a really nice facility back in Maryland. And David said, the boys are never going to come out to Seattle. And if we hope to see them in our dotage, we'll probably have to relocate.
Mm-hmm.
And so we put our names on the list and plop down our deposit and keep thinking, oh, yeah, 10 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And now he's saying, we just had that, with mom kind of petering off. We just had that discussion. It's like, yeah, it's been really hard for her moving into the home at such an advanced kind of stage of her memory loss and
Mm-hmm.
her issues, and she hasn't been able to make friends. And if she had done the move like several years ago,
Mm-hmm.
she'd have a community there.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we he said, I'm thinking like 75, 80. And I'm thinking, oh God, 75. That,
Mhm.
I said, David, that's like just 7 years out. That's like really soon. So I'm thinking, oh God, I have to start getting ready for the move.
Time to
But
downsize again, huh?
time to downsize again. Exactly. So, it's a, I think it's a continuous process that's kind of a recognition of the co-creation
Mm-hmm.
process.
Uh-huh.
That this is where we're headed, and this is what the life we're making. And yeah, there's glitches along the way, but generally, this is what the next X number of years is going to be leading to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I definitely think that I see the stepping into the unified field of it,
Mm-hmm.
that um it's like, there are lots of wormholes you
Yep.
can go
Yep.
down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it kind of really doesn't matter which wormhole you choose, you're going to get to the right point.
Mm-hmm.
Just feeling so eloquent today.
Well,
Doesn't
and
matter which wormhole.
there's
Mm.
multiple paths and all. Well, and I want to say again that whenever there's this conversation about conscious self-evolution, some of us go, "Ooh, that sounds exciting. Like, what is that? I want to know more about that." And other people go, "Oh, that's way too big. That's just too big of a concept or an idea, or I just need to live my life." And I was
But
thinking,
that's what it is. That's what it is. It's just living your life.
yes, and being part of the co-creation.
Right.
I also feel like focusing on conscious self-evolution takes you out of victimhood.
Yes.
and thinking that these things just happen to you. And why did these things have to happen to you? It's like part of the process is it's deaths and births. It's letting go of things. It's creating new things. It's closing some doors. It's opening other doors. And when you can be, um, I was talking with someone about manifestation. When you can be a co-creator in the manifestation, you can start to get these flashes of freedom that give you clues about what door is opening.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I was thinking about how, so I live a house-free lifestyle, digital nomad here, that in case people are new to the show and have never heard me talk about that, I thought that was a flash that I thought was going to be a year, and it's been 9 years, I think. It'll be 10 in June if I continue this way. And I have a drawer at Karen's house and a small suitcase there in the corner. So in some ways, I do have homes all over the place. And one of my daughters bought a house a few years ago with her husband, and they have now designated a room in the house for me. So it's a little bit of a different type of living house free. But in California, when I moved out here with my youngest daughter, we got a 10 by 10 storage unit. And since 2012, I have continued to downsize that. That's all that was left out of an 11-room house that I owned was 10 by 10, one room's worth of stuff. And little by little, we've either used things that were in the storage unit and then gotten rid of them, or they were disposable things, you know. And I have been feeling for the past 5 years that I just wish that I could have a space in California, like rent an apartment for just 6 months to take everything out of storage and touch everything, go through it, make decisions. Like I got rid of all of my furniture, but I have a cobbler's bench that my great grandfather made. And
Hmm.
so we have some things in there that you might feel like if you had a house, you'd put it in the attic. So this small storage unit. And every time I come here, I go through some more things, and I have been wanting this space. So I've been holding this vision of, I just want to be able to go through everything. Well, when I came here, all of a sudden, the idea popped in my head in November. It was a flash of freedom, was move the storage unit, like just move everything. And it was two reasons. One, they had kept raising the price to the point where it was just like, this is ridiculous, this price. And I found something that was half the cost. So it was like same size, half the cost. And it's closer to where my daughter lives right now. So a friend loaned me their car, and I went over, I checked on the storage unit, looked through things, and I found I found the storage unit, and then I ended up moving, just saying, oh, I'll move some stuff. I'll have these 2 storage units this month, and maybe I can in 3 months move everything over. Well, do you know, I moved it. It took me 3 days, 9 loads. It was a small car, 9 loads, and I moved everything in. And as soon as I got everything, the last box in there, and then I closed the other storage unit, which was in a matter of days, I was like, wow, this feels like home. Like this new space is exactly what I was looking for. It's within walking distance of the Airbnb. I'm here for 4 months. I've been going over there to just go through a little bit, touch stuff, enjoy it while I'm here. Some stuff I've given away. And it feels like the thing I've been holding a vision for. It just came in a different form, but it happened in a flash of freedom with an idea. And it happened very quickly. And
Right.
so sometimes we hold the vision and it takes years, or we get an idea and we start building something and it takes years. And other times that flash of freedom is like, okay, ready, set, go. And it's like, oh, it's here. Boom,
Mhm.
boom, boom. All the resources lined up, everything lined up for it. So I want to like bring it down to that level, that some of the things Karen and I talk about are like big projects that we did. And I mean, you know, painting ornaments might not sound like a big project, but getting that organized and then raising the money, and then all the suitcases of supplies that you packed to then go to the orphanages, it's, that's huge. That's more than moving a small storage unit in 3 days. Um, and both have value because it's the practice of oh, I got the flash of freedom, everything lined up. I've now moved this and I've closed out an old space and I've got a
Mhm.
fresh new start. That actually builds the the like inner muscle, your intuition. It builds this system in your body
Mhm. Mhm.
that then has room to bring you other flashes of freedom.
Mhm.
So we're
Mhm.
having them all
Mhm.
the time. Little flashes, big flashes. Some take long time, some take longer time. So,
Right, right. Just yesterday we met um down had lunch with my mother-in-law. So it was David and me and David's sister Nairi and mom. And it was like herding cats. So I just sat in the puzzle room knitting,
mhm,
and they were off trying to find mom. And so one of the residents, took her walker and came into the puzzle room and said, "Oh, I have to know, what are you doing? What are you making?" And I said, "Oh," and then I pulled out the diagram for what it's going to be. And "Oh, isn't that adorable? Blah blah blah. And what do you like to knit?" And so I said, basically, I just knit for charity, and I told her about the International Rescue Committee and the group that does the rugs, so that every time a refugee family is settled into an apartment, one of our rugs is there. And then the things that I do, like I do a lot of hats for our Needle Arts Guild, and then what's not sold goes to bags that they do for cancer patients, so
mhm,
they can have handmade gifts to give to their family. And so then she said, "Oh, I have this cotton. I can't crochet anymore." And her hand was all kind of knotted up. She said, I love to crochet, and I just took it with me because I wasn't ready to donate it. And I have all this cotton yarn. And is that something you could use?" I said, "Yeah, sure."
mhm,
And so she brought down two big bins of stuff to the dining room. And then, one of it was all the cotton yarn. And I said, "Oh, yeah, that's great, because I can incorporate that into the rugs." And then she had this other, like almost finished blanket Afghan that was crocheted, really nice pattern. And, the yarn there to finish it up. And I said, "Yeah, if that were knitted, I'd take it in a minute. It's crocheted. Find a crocheter to finish it up. They'll love it."
mhm.
But it's just I didn't go down there to have lunch with my mother-in-law thinking I would get some goodies to add to my stash,
Right, right. Yeah.
you know, and in the scheme of things, that's not, but it was like the connection of traditions and hand workers talking, and kind of passing on energetically, things. And you know it happens all the time.
Mhm.
you
Well,
know the if anybody wants to, synchronicity, I really learned about it in the artist's way.
Mhm.
Julia Cameron writes a lot about synchronicity. So if you're interested in that, I would search out a copy of The Artist's Way, get it from the library or whatever. And it's a Jungian precept that they're, coincidence, probably not, but maybe, we put something energetically out, and what we attract will cure or solve or enhance what it is we need. Um yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also like when if you get a flash to go to the grocery store and you end up having a conversation with someone in the store who's checking your
Mhm.
groceries, and then you walk away with this feeling of you've just had a connection with
Right,
someone,
right,
and
right, right.
what that does to your physical body. And so these flashes of freedom, although we're talking about big things that can happen, it's the listening and following through so that that synchronistic moment, that connection happens. And if you don't follow it, the world's not going to fall apart. It's just, I think actually part of the practice is listening and following through, even if something doesn't happen, because what you're doing is you're giving your intuition a message that you're listening,
Mhm. Right.
that you're paying attention, and
Mhm.
please bring
Mhm.
more, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, more please. Yes, more
More,
please.
please. Yes. More, please. Oh, I just finished reading, Amy Poehler wrote a book about 10 years ago, and I just found it in a little free library. And it's called Yes, Please. So I
Mhm.
like that message, sending that out to the universe.
Mhm.
So, anything else before we close?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for listening. These are musings that we're doing, and partly because Karen and I have been really passionate about the work of Barbara Marx Hubbard and passionate about consciously evolving. And it's certainly a place where you have, look, there's a lot going on this year. You don't have control over a lot of what is going on, but you do have you do have control over being present and paying attention,
Right.
and then
Right.
listening, and then taking inspired action from that
Mhm.
listening.
Mhm.
And so that's the thing to cultivate in yourself this year
Mhm.
is, yeah,
It's
conscious
taking
self-evolution. Yeah,
it's taking responsibility for your piece of it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that, hey, we all want some control over something, and
Mhm.
that's part of making choices, and all of that. So next month, Karen and I will be back, and we're going to talk about Code 6, which is choose ideas which activate more of your life purpose, creativity, joy, and lovingness of others. So stay tuned,
Others. Isn't
or
it all about me all the time? Huh.
well, you're not
No.
living in a cave all by yourself. So yes, it's about you and others.
Okay.
And sometimes
Right.
it's about you, and sometimes it's just about others. So,
Mm.
yeah. And just to let everyone know, also, you can look in the show page description, and there's a link to my blog where I've posted the article that I wrote for On Purpose Woman about um, noticing flashes of freedom, and keep bringing your attention to them. Yes.
Right. Right.
All right.
Very
Karen,
good.
thanks. Thanks for the
You're
conversation,
welcome. Love
and
it.
see you all soon. Bye bye.
Bye.